Hitting up the compost piles. I'm gonna try to get this in a way you guys can see me while I'm doing my stuff here. So I have got quite a few. I've got three of my four compost bins, pile bins that need to be turned today, and also two of them I'm going to reincorporate some additional green matter into them, green and some brown matter. I've got a whole basically yard worth of grass clippings behind me. It's kind of the same deal we had the last time we were here, but so this one here has had 2 weeks in the middle here to just kind of do its thing, just to leave it alone. Wanted to see how well it was doing, and what I thought was going to happen did happen, and it's this stuff right here. See that area right there? We had matting occurred, and what you see how everything else is basically black on here, right on this side. Then I got these green areas. What happened is the grass had matting in there, and it didn't allow basically oxygen to get in there. So the anaerobic bacteria were able to thrive, and they do not break down the compost in the way that we want it broken down. So we are actively trying to break that up, and that's all we're doing by turning the compost. Now, the moisture levels are fine. Everything looks good. I don't see any issues there. It's just a matter of we've got much of these areas where the grass didn't separate out well, and it basically cut off the oxygen supply, which left us with this frankly nasty composting thing. And it's not composting, it's decomposing. It's a little bit different, because again, you have different bacteria that are doing it. What you end up with is a stinky pile. It just smells bad, and you know it when you get into it, because it smells bad. It smells like decomposing, versus compost, when it's done right and when you're doing it correctly, it doesn't smell like anything. It smells like the woods. It smells like you're just a walk in the forest. That loamy, earthy smell that everyone likes. That's what compost smells like when it's done correctly. So that's your number one way to find out you're doing it right. Anyways, been a good day today. Earlier on the stream this morning, did some garden containers, or some containers for some flowers. Some of the petunias that I had. Went to Lowe's with the redhead and got some of that stuff squared away. That was good. And then making my way out here. Then we got some stuff planted. I got some what did we get in there today? We got some pumpkins, got some butternut squash, and I got some beans, some green beans, the bush style plants planted as well. So that's nice. Got the string beans doing their thing, which is good. Yeah, bits and pieces of this compost look pretty good. It's just this pile. There's just a couple areas look kind of crummy. So we're just basically just turning this pile. I'm not going to be incorporating anything into this. The only thing we're reincorporating into this, because the moisture levels all look good. Oh yeah, it looks great. It's just that by turning the pile, one, we're making sure we're getting a good mix here, but also it's reincorporating oxygen into the system, which is going to help feed those the aerobic bacteria that we want, as far as the population growing, getting better in here. The other thing I talked about before on this, reasons I do these, this old cardboard working its way through, cool. Other reasons that I do these, compost piles, where I do this actually on stream. I want people to realize how long it takes to actually do these. It's going to be over an hour today just to do these three, because I've got to pull this one out, pull this pile out, which it's incorporated where it needs to be. It's got plenty of the good mixture is fine, but I've got to basically restack this whole deal, get it in there good. And I've got two others that I have to incorporate some brown matter in, along with all of my grass clippings that I have. So it's going to be over an hour today just to get this part done. But it's stuff that's got to get done as far as for the compost here, because I don't want, obviously, is I don't want all my grass clippings. You can send them off to the municipality would pick them up. As far as they take them in their bags, whatever they do with them. But I have a feeling those just end up like in a excuse me, that those just end up somewhere in a landfill. You don't want that. We compost so we can return this stuff back into the soil, help all my garden. Yeah, this looks really good. I'm really happy with the way that this is progressing. This probably only needs a couple more weeks and it'll be there. So I figure in June I should be able to get this pile here. I mean, it looks pretty good. Smells great. So I imagine we only got a couple more weeks and I'll be able to just put this in my garden. It'd be fantastic. Now, unlike, again, you'll see some other folks there, especially on the some of the larger gardening channels I see, like when they're doing their compost and everything, they screen their compost and they get it down to a particular size. I don't do that here. That's nothing that I really worry about, because this compost is going to also work as a mulch too. So I'm not too concerned about the overall particulate size. That's really what it is. I'm also going to use this for compost tea, which is where you take this along with a starch, like a baked potato or something, put it in some warm water, and you mix them together, and they starts fermenting. It makes this concoction, basically rapidly grows the number of basically the colony of bacteria that are in your compost. It rapidly grows it, so you can incorporate it in your soil. But it also kicks off all sorts of goodies too, which is really what you want. All right. So I'm just giving this a little turn in here. Now there's, for me, just because of all the grass clippings I have, I will be filling out these compost bins pretty much. They get turned every week in some way, shape, or form, just because of the amount of grass clippings I have on the property here. So, this is pretty much understood. I've got at least an hour a week, just working on this compost. But again, all of this here between these bins, they'll turn over probably 3 times during the summer, 3 or 4 times. And all of this is going to end up in my garden. It's all going to make its way in there. If, by the end of the year, which is what you want. Obviously, that's the goal. Be able to have this set up in a way that all of this will make its way in. So with this, when I'm looking at my compost, and this is 1 month on, what I'm looking for, see if I can grab a piece for here, right here. We're just grabbing here. Get that out of there. There we go. So what we're looking for in your compost is obviously color. I'm going to see how it's looking. You can see it's the right color, that you want that dark on there. I see things are breaking down. These leaves are doing their part. Another thing is, but what you don't want to see is stuff like this. See how it's one big like pancake? This means there's matting going on in there. And it's gonna be a difficult time for, it's usually got a different smell to it. Ugh. Whereas this stuff here, this doesn't have any smell to it. This just smells like the forest. So when you see that matting, you want to break that up. So things I'm looking for, again, are just any matting. Here's a great example. I'll show you the matting. Okay, this is where grass clippings. If I open this up, you should be able to see how green that is. The smell is terrible. And what's happened is that's all the anaerobic bacteria are in there because no oxygen could get into this thing. And it's just been it hasn't been composting, it's been slowly decomposing. It's different what's happening. So we want to kind of break this up break those things up so we can incorporate different things in there. So we can incorporate oxygen in there, so that it can start composting. End of the day, we want it looking like this. See how it's coming apart like that? It's still got plenty of moisture in there, plenty of moisture, but it's not compacted, right? Like, and that's, and you'll hear me talk about that at length anytime you're here on the channel if you're relatively new. Compaction is the worst thing that happens for in a garden, period. For composting, it's definitely a problem. Your garden soil, it's a problem. So we fight that at any chance we can get. And that's why we turn, other reasons we turn our compost piles. It's incorporating oxygen, it's resetting the matrix, you know, leaving things set up there so moisture can get where it needs to go. But the biggest thing is you're getting a chance to move everything around too, so you don't have a whole bunch of green matter sitting in one spot and brown matter in the other. You know, it's giving you a nice opportunity just to kind of look at it. Now, the other thing I'm looking at here as well while I'm going through this is, again, checking moisture levels. This is the time where if I had any, if this was drier, I would be adding moisture to it. But right now, it's actually in a really good spot. I mean, I'll still hit it with the hose on the top just after I'm done, just to give it a little love towards the end. But you'll see when we do the other two piles that there's a method to the madness here of making sure that we have a good mixture, but the levels are all, you know, appropriate, i.e. right mixture of brown matter, right mixture of green matter, right mixture of oxygen, and the water levels for moisture are correct. We want this thing, like here, just taking a moment to rip up these areas where matting, you can just see them. We just want to break those up. Give bacteria a chance to get in there. There we go. Now I'm going to clear this side out along here. I'm going to dig this down. I'm going to bring my pallet back over so I can close this off. This one is pretty high as far as where it goes. So I have a pallet that keeps all this back. I have pallets for my other two spots. Well, my other two spots, which one's there, but this one doesn't have a pallet. So I just want to make sure that I can get the pallet down before I go too far with this, just because of the volume that we're going to be putting in here. And, you know, for aesthetics, I'll be building out on another stream. I'll be building out a different, probably later in the fall, I'll do a new compost then. But for now, you know, we're just gonna make this one work because I got pallets. You got to make decisions what you're going to work on, right? And in this case, my primary focus was making sure that I had my compost bins up and ready to go for the shear, because I had a ton of basically compost ready to go into it. Cool. All right. Let me just do this right now. Just looking for something. Here it is. That's not the guy. Here we go. Just want something a little bit small to push in here to kind of help keep it up against there. There we go. As we fill it back up here. So again, if you haven't been on the stream before, welcome. And my name's Ryan. Just a dude who works around his yard and his garden. Likes to hop on here and chat with folks, share kind of the experiences that I have with this. But also, you know, as far as on the gardening channel here, it's one of the things that I want to make sure folks understand is, like, you know, what goes into these. You know, a lot of people dream of, you know, they want to do larger composting, or they want to, you know, have a bigger garden. Well, like to be able to show you in real time what that actually means when you're saying that, what that looks like. It's for a lot of folks. They think, oh yeah, I'd love to do composting. And when they come here, see me working up a sweat, and they see the, it takes a little bit of effort in this. It's going to be, like I said, it's going to be over an hour just to do these 3 compost bins to make sure that I can incorporate my grass from from yesterday. But it might be an hour, hour and a half. I mean, don't get me wrong, some of that time is just because we're talking and we're chatting, which is cool, which is why I do this. But also you'll see that there's it's what it takes to do it. Also, you come on here, you get to ask questions. I have people ask me questions pretty much every stream about why I'm doing something, or should we be looking at it this way to do it, which is the reason I'm here. I have some folks, they were just wondering about, their compost. A question I had come up was about all the water to use. Now I have well water. And I just was reminding people, just be careful when you're using municipal water because it's got chlorine in it. It's not going to completely sterilize your pile or anything, but it will, it is going to diminish your pile, and it's going to take a little longer for the bacteria to repopulate. So, my recommendation is, if you can, set out some 5-gallon buckets with some water. If you have well water, or if you have a city water, just let the chlorine burn off and use that within your piles. And we're going to show you through the process here, once I get this one back in, of how to, incorporate, I'm going to be reincorporating some green matter into this pile here, and then this one right behind me, basically for my yard grass clippings. Walk you through that and show you what that looks like, including breaking out the hose and adding more water, because the amount of water, because you do have to add water every time you add more material in. Just something to keep in mind. There's a moisture level that you're looking for with your compost. Not too much, not too little. Why we do what we do. So with that, I hope you all enjoying the stream today. Appreciate you, swinging by. If you haven't been here before, welcome. I hope I earned your subscription today. And if you do subscribe, make sure you hit the notification bell so you get notified when I go live here in the greenhouse, out in my garden, or doing whatever around the yard. So you can kind of see what this old guy's doing. Don't want that in there yet. We got some crabgrass that I pulled out of the garden for the last week, waiting for it to fully dry out and be dead before I compost it. So that was a bummer. All right. So again, the other reason, so when we're turning the compost too, just as a reminder, as we're going through this, you want to, best your ability, you want everything that, as you're pulling out and reincorporating, everything from the inside is going to be on the outside, everything outside will be the inside. Stuff at the bottom will be at the top, right? You just completely want to turn it over. Just makes for a healthier compost. That guy's dry, that's good. Healthier compost across the board. But I also don't want you worrying about it too much. Like, don't lose sleep over that. Like, oh, I got to make sure I have the spread out. End of the day, we're wanting to mix this up so we can, again, every little bit of mixing you're doing is just fine. Obviously, a plan doesn't hurt, but you mix something in the wrong way, or it doesn't quite work out right. Seriously, don't worry about it. The bacteria know what to do. They'll find their food one way or the other. They'll get it figured out. Okay, a couple more minutes on this guy. Then I am going to hit it with a hose, even though it's got a good level, just because I'm going to have the cover off for a little bit here, and it will be losing moisture. And that's one of the 2 reasons that we do tarp. We always tarp our compost piles. Is one, for temperature, for sure. I want to maintain temperature in a certain spot, but it's all mainly for moisture control. We want to make sure that the moisture levels stay in a healthy spot. The bacteria that are in here, they need moisture to do their thing. So if we don't have a good control, we just let this pile dry out, it's not going to keep composting. So we want to make sure that it is staying the appropriate moisture levels. Break that up. Again, I'm just breaking up this one piece because it's a chunk of leaves that got smushed flat and they weren't letting any oxygen in. And you can once you see it once, you can pretty much spot it a mile away. And then all you gotta do is break it up, and all the oxygen get in there, right back bacteria get in there, and everything gets better. Cool. And again, this time of year too, my piles are getting to a really good temperature. I can tell you that much. They are definitely getting heated up. They're well over, make sure I'm speaking correctly here. Look at the thermometer. Yeah, they're well over 150. This pile that was right here, not this one, but the next one over, which we'll be working on next, or actually work on this one next. You know, it was at 160 when I pulled the thermometer out just a little bit ago. So they are definitely heating up. And again, with all the heat though, just remember that moisture wants to get out, and that's why we keep the tarps on top of them. Bacteria are amazing like that. They regulate their own, their own levels pretty well, because they're producing a bunch of heat, right? And they more heat. Eventually they make so much heat that they will start killing themselves off, which will lower the heat, which then lets them reproduce more. Then they'll make more heat until they start killing themselves off. It's kind of nice, this little self-regulating pattern, so you don't have to worry about your compost piles kind of getting out of control. They self-regulate. Okay, so there's that pile. A good spot. I'm just gonna level it off. This is an important step to make sure that you do as well. You level off your pile. You don't want to have any like high points or low points. And I want you to think of those, if you have your pile, right, and say comes up in a point like this, think of this like a wick. It'll be, that area will dry out more, but it's going to pull more moisture out of your pile that way. If you got a nice flat surface, it's easier to regulate the overall moisture levels. Okay, so just keep that in mind. We always want to make sure we level our piles. Super important. Oops. There we go. All right, gonna give them a quick little drink. Again, oh no. Sorry about that, folks. That probably was not the show you came to show up, was it? My hose got you. That's what you get for live TV, live video, guys. Sorry about that. So anyways, this has plenty of water in it, but like I said, it's gonna have the top off for a little while here. Plus we just got all that oxygen in. So I just want to give it a quick little shot of water, kind of help it with the next level of for the next level of composting, and to help that help the pile recover from the trauma we just put it through by kind of mixing everybody up. All right, so there's that piece. So we're going to do this pile over here next. I'm going to show you guys, take a look at it here, and then also this scariness. So there's just a small portion of all that stuff. That's the small portion of the crabgrass rhizome that I pulled out of my garden this week. I was solarizing, and I had been, typically I just kill my cover crop off and lay it down, and now I've got my mulch and everything. Then I bring wood chips on afterwards. So I went and looked at it, and I noticed something I didn't like, and I saw there was a couple bits of crabgrass in there. So I took a look and started digging in the soil, and I saw, all of this, 10 5-gallon buckets full of it. So that was an issue. So I've just got it over here basically just drying out and dying. Not good, but it is what it is, you know. So we just made the adjustment. I decided I was going to start, you know, till everything over and start from scratch. Is what it is. Okay, so under our next bit here, folks, we're going to be doing is we're going to be incorporating some of the my grass clippings are going to be going into here, into this pile. And right now this pile is 2 weeks old. This pile is 2 weeks old. So this is ready to have some stuff put into it. Same thing, the other one is a week old, but it needs to have stuff added. So we're going to, you can check it out here, kind of what it looks like. Not really much has been happening. You know, it's been burning off a little bit, but at the end of the day, it's not terrible. I'm going to see about switching my Wi-Fi over real quick, guys, because I got kicked off there. See if, there you go. There you go. We're going to switch over to that Wi-Fi. Should be a little better. So anyways, you can just see this stuff here is, you know, it's still, you know, this is just getting started as far as compost here. You can see it's obviously darkening up, but, you know, it is what it is. It looks good though. I'm seeing the things that I want to see. It doesn't smell. That's one thing with compost. It shouldn't stink. If you've got your compost going right, it shouldn't stink. It should smell like the forest. That's what I say. That loamy smell that you get from the forest, that's what you want to have. But we're going to find some stinky stuff in here, I guarantee you, because I haven't turned this over before. So, yeah. Oh, hey, Ryan, how are you? Yeah. So, what are they saying? This is 2 weeks. Oh, look, butterfly. Don't land there, bud. I got to work. Okay. So, I've got a little bit of work to go here. All right. So with this, we are simply, the goal on this is we want to be aerating as much of this as we can right now. I want to incorporate as much oxygen as possible in here and break up everything that I can. Just treat this like it's almost a brand new compost pile. You know, the goal here is to get as much oxygen into this guy as we can. So when it fires off here, after I get the new green material in, it's going to fire off like at a high level. Okay. So that's what I was saying. This takes, to do this right, typically one of these takes about 40 minutes. If you're going to, on the first and second go around, it normally takes a little bit of time, because your goal here is to remix everything, but make sure you're breaking up stuff, make sure that all the measurements are as close as you can get them. And then also you're looking at moisture levels. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you're inspecting to make sure stuff is there. So that way, when this gets a chance, it's just going to go. All right. And you can see a few spots of matting that are going on that we want to try to avoid here. And if I can find some, I'll show you good spots here. Actually, here's a good example. So this has got matting that you don't want. And you'll see, you can tell, because see how that grass, but I can pull it apart here. And so what's happened there, moisture got into this grass seed, right? The grass clippings, they sealed shut. So no oxygen could get in here. And you end up with anaerobic bacteria in here. And this smells. I'm not even going to smell it because I know it's nasty. So we are, and it's slimy and just gross. And it's not good. It's not composting. It's just decomposing. Big difference. So you want to have is, whew, man, that smells. Every time you come across anything that looks like where you can see that matting is occurring, where you want to take a second and break that up. And usually you can shake it apart, but not always. Not always. But again, our goal here is we want to basically just shake this thing apart to start. Just break it up. Now here's some good stuff to show you. This lets me know that we're getting the right stuff going on in there. That's a little bit too dry though. See the white powder? That's where you get when you get your aerobic bacteria setting up in there. They just, it got a little dry on us, so it dried out a bit. That's okay, because it's getting ready to get a bath here in a second. And again, this is from, again, we're going to be incorporating a whole bunch of my grass clippings from the yard that I just did yesterday. I have to mow, here you go, here's another example so you guys can see. They talk about matting that you don't want to have. So you can see how it's dark on the outside. Once we get inside here, that slimy nastiness, say that's anaerobic bacteria. It smells and it's slimy and gross. That's not what you want for composting. You want it to be, like I said, your compost shouldn't smell. It should smell good, to be honest. It should have a nice, like, loamy smell to it. Not stinky. So like I said, and best way to do that, make sure you got a metric ton of air pockets in this thing to start. So the aerobic bacteria, your good guys, have plenty of stuff to work with. Plenty of air to do their thing. Yeah, this looks good. So you can see the grass clippings plus the leaves from last year from my neighbor are all mixed up in here. And she's great. She loves it. She's just like, yes, you can have all my leaves. And so that makes my life pretty easy. And, you know, I plan for that. So that way I know I'm going to have a whole bunch of leaves to basically start the year off with all my grass clippings from my yard. So I can start producing compost and just start feeding my garden as quick as I can, which is what I want. Now, with that, you know, we're up here in northern Michigan, so I can't compost year round. I could if I wanted to. If I really wanted to be out here just to be a uber dude, gardening guru guy, I could be out here, you know, at 10 degrees. Anytime the sun came out, trudging through the snow and stuff to get the piles going. But I don't do that. I just basically just take all of our produce and leftover stuff that we have throughout the year and just pile it up here. It doesn't break down because it's below freezing. And as soon as we get to March, when you get those days that are in the 40s and 50s, you can start thinking about, you can wake your pile up. And the easiest way to do that is once the sun's out, basically pull them out, let them warm up, add some fresh water to it, put it on, put the tarp back on it really tight though, and then it'll start building up. And you'll know it's doing its thing because you'll see steam coming off that bad boy. Now the thing is, it won't keep going that long. It'll be just a momentary start, and you'll have to turn the pile if you want to keep it going like every few days at that point, which is what I start doing in March, because I'm in my greenhouse, which is just like right there. So I just walk over and kickstart my piles, because they're not that big. They're only, it's only one usually over winter. It just takes me a little bit to pull it out, and I'm not as worried about making sure the moisture levels are right and all that other stuff, because again, they're only going to be firing for maybe a day or two before they start going dormant just because of how cold it is. But the idea is just to wake those colonies up, feed them, and kind of help move along. But in this case, after this feeding, and you can see the compost, the difference that we have towards the bottom here. You can see where we're getting to versus the top. This has been in the heat a lot more. It's getting a lot more, the particles are getting to be the right size. I'll only turn this probably one more time before it's going to be ready to go in the garden. Just because of the temperatures we're getting to and how fast and how hot these are burning. Like I said, when I came in here, when I got here about 40 minutes ago, the third pile was at almost 160, 155, 160 when I got out here. So it was screaming. There you go. That looks a lot better. Okay, cool. We're just going to kind of fluff these guys up here. Little fluffage, right? And this is the other reason that you want to come in and turn your piles. I'm going to try this as carefully as I can when I grab that. So this is the corner piece down at the bottom. So this has been dried out, but also because of the amount of time it's touching the oxygen, it's drying out. So there's no moisture there, but you can see how the lasagna system that I kind of set up. So I got brown, green, brown. Because there isn't moisture in there, it doesn't allow stuff to travel through, and you end up with this stuff. Okay, that's not what we want. We want to see we want to see mixtures of everything. You know, as much mixture as we can, as much, and then moisture content as well. Okay, so I got you. Hey, by the way, if you're new to the stream, welcome. Good to have you all on here. We're turning compost piles. We're incorporating my grass clippings from yesterday inside of here. Now, I couldn't yesterday. I didn't have time just because of how much time I was out here. I couldn't get these guys incorporated. Typically, I like to mow and get it in the compost, but just due to things, I couldn't do it. But just look at the difference. That one day, this is probably at 120 degrees right now, 130. That's why I got these mitts on. But you can already see where it's kind of getting slimy, getting that sheen to it. That's not good. Versus up here, loosening up, right? So this is why your grass clippings, if you're going to do them, one day is about all you can afford to let them go, because like I was telling you, and I'll grab another piece here to show you. See if I get the layers. Hey, all the oxygen's living up here, drying it out, right? So moisture. This has made a seal at the bottom that's not allowing oxygen in there, and it's killing off all of your aerobic bacteria. And you need aerobic bacteria. But luckily, we're incorporating into something that's got a ton of aerobic bacteria and it's hungry. So we're gonna be feeding it. So with this, the mixture that you wanna have, perfect mixture, is basically 30 to 1. Varies. Some folks like to say 15 to 1, but 30 to 1. Green to brown, that's your nitrogen, right? Nitrogen stuff. And your brown, right? Your leaves and other stuff. But what I want you to do is what I do here is I want to just see a good mixture of this stuff in here, because you know what else is inside of this green stuff? Carbon, right? It has plenty of carbon in there too. So, you know, the best method I've gone to is I just try to mix it up, and I want to see a mixture that's more brown than green, but I also don't worry about it too much. Let's get stuff in there and just do your best to mix it up. The bacteria will take care of you. They know what they're doing. We just want to kind of keep them fed here. So I'm going to move this a little bit over here so you guys can kind of see my method I work with. That's all right with you guys? I'm going to be kind of here-ish. I don't think you guys need to really see me piling it up in the pile here. All right. So this is the way this typically goes. I've got, you know, so by the way, I don't dig all the way down to the ground on this piece here. I make sure I have a layer of compost at the bottom, simply just so I've got fresh bacteria to work their way up as well. And the way I started here is with my brown stuff here. I just start chunking. There's a whole bunch of it. We just got to get a bunch of it over here, right? And then we're just going to mix it in start with our green and start doing our, again, the lasagna piece they talked about. So we get some green in there. Going to put a decent amount in there, enough to cover the area. There we go. And I'm just going to come in here, do some green and brown. And it's just going to be a whole bunch of brown going in. And then we're going to take, just get some more brown here. And I'll bring around and kind of show you this method here for we'll show you every couple goes here. So the next piece, you just come in here. You can see this, kind of hard for me to see. There we go, right there. So you can see I've got brown and green in here. We're just going to give it a quick little mix with the stuff that's already in there. Quick little mix. And mix her up. Add some more brown. Again, what I'm looking for again is simply just eyeballing this. Again, there you go. Just kind of eyeballing it. Then we're going to add in some more of the compost from earlier. Toss all that. All right, that's got a good little mixture, kind of everything there. Then we're just going to add water. We're going to do that kind of, now that's just a little baby layer to show you, because I'm going to be little baby layer to get things, kind of give you the idea what it's going to look like. And then get some of this, clear my lane back out here. Again, kind of feel, clear my space, because now it's just going to be a whole bunch of green going in, a whole bunch of brown, just in short order. And again, there's all sorts of methods you can look at for doing this incorporation. You know, like I was saying, the lasagna method is, you know, one that's always preferred, just to, you know, for people that are starting out, so they can feel a little more comfortable. Because I know a lot of folks, they worry about making sure they got their mixtures and the levels correctly. And I'm just here to tell you, it's not necessarily you need to worry about. Biggest thing you want to worry about is just making sure you've got a good, sorry, just moving some stuff out of the way here. You've got a good mixture. You got everything mixed up. And then you have plenty of moisture. So keep things mixed up. And make sure you got plenty of moisture in there, okay? So like in this case, you just see I just brought over all these old corn stalks that I had. These are from last year. And what I'm going to do with this pile, it's probably really loud for you guys, sorry about that. What we're going to do with that pile, testing this, mixing it on top of it. Microbes help me break this thing down. I moved my mic over there because I imagine it was pretty loud there. So this is a technique I've done before. You know, rather than me spending a lot of time trying to snap these things down, because I do have to turn this one more time, I'm going to take my compost I currently have, put some green matter on top of there, and we are going to basically let the microbes come in here and do what they do best and chow down. We're just going to use this basically to fill it out. Now, again, if this was me starting with, I wouldn't start with those like that. That's not something you're going to want to have. But when you have compost that's already kind of kicking, all that surface area, all of your microbes are going to be like, all the aerobic bacteria in here, like they're licking their chops right now. They're like, oh my goodness, so much for me to get in here and chow down on. I can't wait. Okay, so I'm gonna get some more of the grass and put it in here. And you can just see the color differences as I put this in here, as I get towards the stuff that was towards the bottom. Just how gross it looks. Okay. Again, my goal right now is simply just, again, I don't want to have a bunch of green matter all touching. I want to be able to make sure that this stuff is getting in there and getting fed. My current compost that I have is able to get in here, doing as much of this grass as I can get. Cool. So the other thing that's great about these, when you have the corn stalks and you put them in there, because of how solid they are, as they decompose, they leave channels for air and moisture to get in there, which is what you want. Much of that as you can. Okay, I'm gonna put some brown down here, mix it up, then we're gonna hose it down for a while, because it definitely needs some water, I can tell. Okay, let's give this guy a little bit of a shower here. Gloves off here. Give my hands a little bit of a there we go. Woo-wee. It's toasty out today, boy. So yeah, so we're just giving this a good little bit of hydration here because it needs it, just like I did. And again, that's something you want to make sure. Again, on your first two, the first time you're putting your pile together, your compost pile, but also the second one, just put an oppressive amount of water down. It's not going to hurt anything. You're not losing any nutrients. And by the amount of water you have on there is goodness, because it helps the bacteria, shuttle back and forth, and also brings all of their nutrients together that they need. So, there's goodness with it. Stuff you want to make sure you're doing. How are we doing on here? Minute 48. Man, we're cooking, folks. We are cooking here. Literally, it's hot out today. I mean, it's not like not like Louisiana hot, but it is. It's hot for Michigan right now. I'll tell you that much. All right, get you in there. Okay. So again, the goal here is we're doing this. We're building up the pile. I need to get the probably doing this last one I'm going to mix in here. At least for this well here. Because we're trying to just incorporate the brown and the green matter. Get them all hanging out with each other. The bacteria, they need both. But what the brown matter does, again, that's why we want to make sure we have it. The brown matter provides structure to the overall pile as well. It's going to let water go down there to keep oxygen flowing, all the things that you want. All right, so we're going to put some more water on that piece. Then I'll put my pallet back in front of here. Hey, gonna get my pallet back in front of here. So I just got a tarp. I gotta cover this sample real quick. There we go. This guy here. All right, and then I just need it's right here. No, what I get for using the old wood like that. Shoot. Oh, I think this slat will probably work just as well. There we go. So again, I'm gonna kind of move you guys over this direction so you can see what I'm doing, because now for the rest of my green material that I have over here, we want you to just like that. There we go. The rest of the green material that I have, sorry, the wind's starting to pick up a little bit, and yesterday we had a little bit of actually earlier in the stream had a bit of an issue. I lost chat for a little bit. The camera flipped over on me. Let me get here. There you go. So what we're gonna be doing now is, this is the rest of my green material that I have from my yard from yesterday. I'm just gonna bring over from this area right over here, this pile here. I've got a ton of basically brown leaves that have been sitting there. They're, they technically might be turning towards leaf mold, but I'm going to use them in my compost. Mix all that in here, and then be mixing in with my compost here, and putting it back into the pile to do its thing. And stopping every so often to add water to it, and at the end we're going to soak it, which then is going to let us get over to this third one, be my third one that I got to get done today as well. So again, like I said, it's going to be an hour and a half total probably that we're going to be out here just working on compost piles today. And this is what it's kind of like once a week here on the property. I'm basically just out here doing compost. And starting next week, basically next week, but probably Memorial Day weekend, every week one of these bins is going to be kicking off, basically, what was that going to be? What did I have that? 9 square feet of compost. So is that a cubic yard? I don't know what that math works out to. 3 times 3 times 3, that's not right. It's 27. So, basically whatever that works out to. 3 cubic feet. 1, 2, 3, 9 cubic feet. Man, my math is just not there today. I've been, throughout the entire time, throughout the entire season, which is what I do. And basically I just take that, and that's a mixture of, it's a mixture of straight compost, just putting it with my vegetables, just laying it down like it's a mulch, then letting nature and the water seep it down, or I make compost tea out of it, which is where I take compost like this stuff here, which is pretty close. You put it inside of like a cold brew bag in some hot water. You want to make sure it's water that's not from, it doesn't have any chlorine in it. So, if you got, city water, you want to make sure that you give it a chance to just kind of air out first. You do that along with like a nice hot, basically with a baked potato. Just want it warmed up and nice and soft. Mush it up, throw in it another bag. And then just steep it in a 5-gallon bucket of water. What you end up with is this nutrient-rich, fully alive, bacteria-filled solution that, basically supercharges your plants. It's a really good fertilizer, but it's also inoculates the soil, with the compost bacteria that you want, the anaerobic bacteria that you basically are cultivating in compost. Yes, you want all the material out of here for sure, and it is important, because the bacteria are breaking down all this deliciousness between the grass and the brown stuff. But the other reason that you want active compost to be in your garden, because you are just putting in all sorts of really healthy, strong bacteria into your soil. And in the bacteria, they're what makes all of the nutrients that your plants need. The plants don't, it's not really the thing that they do for the most part. They make food that they exchange and trade with the microbes, you know, for the microbes to do. That's really what's going on. So all right, let me move this thing into this direction right here. Swing for now. Again, if you're new to the stream, haven't been here before, welcome. Good to have you on here. Again, my name is Ryan. Just working in doing my compost at the moment. Again, it's that time of the week. Basically, after I do a mowing, I have to come out here and incorporate all this green matter into my compost, which is good because this time of year, I've got all my leaves left over. It's my neighbor's leaves. Got all that piled up there that I can then take and use to incorporate with my green matter and make some delicious compost for my garden. So we can get that rolling. That is what we're doing today, folks. As simple as that. So again, welcome to the stream. If you haven't been here before, hope you're enjoying it. Again, Ryan Howe, just the dude works on works in his yard, does some stuff in the garden. We got my greenhouse. Just come out here live to chat with folks. So it's good to see y'all. Hopefully y'all are enjoying the stream so far. I mean, it's, you know, a big thing here is I know a lot of folks, they don't quite understand everything that goes into composting. So it's, or what it takes on a homestead to be able to do it. It's like now what I was saying before we had over here is I incorporated all my grass in with my leaves that are going to be going up in my compost pile here, which is what we're doing right now. We'll be filling this guy up. It's man, I tell you, I will take these type of spring days. This is great. I mean, it's 80 out right now. And tomatoes are so happy right now. You know, up in Michigan, one, to be out before Memorial Day is amazing to itself, but two, you know, my tomatoes, they want it hot and humid. They're getting that today, I can tell you that much. Oof. Heat is definitely here. And, you know, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically get a couple layers of this in here. And, you know, I'm going to change it up a little bit for you guys too. I think we're going to kind of try to bring this back here. You don't need to see this one. You need to see this one and that one. Hopefully you would. There we go. Because you can still see here. Cool. Yes, you can still kind of see that. Okay. What we're doing here is basically just getting my lawn seed, or basically all my lawn clippings and leaves from last year. I've incorporated them. I'm gonna break that up. That didn't look too good. There we go. Already incorporated them. And what we're going to be doing, not you guys, basically making one of my base layers here for compost. I'm going to go hit it with a hose here in a second. And just kind of fill this whole thing up. Again, the ratio you're looking for on your compost between 15 and 30 to 1. For me, I like to see brown with a smattering of green in it. Kind of like that. That's as much math as you're going to get out of me when it comes to garden stuff. Especially compost, where it's bacteria, you know, it's managing the oxygen levels is more important than really your, you know, that magical mixture. Because again, even your green matter, like the grass clippings, it's got a bunch of carbon in it, you know? And that's really what you're doing is you're making when people ask like what you're doing, the goal here is you're making a nitrogen and carbon broth. At the end of the day, what you want to be able to make for your for the bacteria, your, again, aerobic bacteria to enjoy. So again, this is just, you can see I've got grass clippings, but these, it's just leaves from last year. I had a chance to they're kind of smushed together, is what it is. We're just going to kind of be loosening everybody up, mixing them up. Then Tossing them in. Level this off a little bit. I'm gonna hit it with the water. Yeah, this is composting, folks. And the idea here is to have, good coverage between your, good mixture you want between your browns and your greens. You want a lot of water to start though. Make sure it's mixed up good, solidly mixed up, because the bacteria that you have in there, the aerobic bacteria, they need water as a solvent for them to get all of their bacteria, to get their, basically for their processes, for them to do what they need to do. If you don't have enough water in there, you're in, end of the day, you're just in trouble. You're not going to be able to get this stuff composting in the way that you need it to. That's one of the things you just got to make sure you're paying attention to, is what your water levels look like and get moisture levels. So this is compost that I had from earlier. We're turning this pile over. You'll see when you look at it, like there's moisture on it. You can see it for a second, but if I squeeze it, we're not getting water dripping out of it. Okay, that's what you're shooting for. You want it moist, but not saturated. Saturated compost doesn't let oxygen flow. That's the main reason. Right? It's saturated. Now it's going to start. It'll start matting. So you want it just wet enough to that all of the awesome chemical reactions, biochemical reactions that you need to take place are taking place, but not so much that it stops oxygen from freely flowing. Okay. I've had a couple folks ask me and tell me that, they told me like, oh, they were worried because they had mice living in their compost pile. Just a heads up there, mice are going to live in your compost pile. It's warm, it's comfortable. Why wouldn't they move in there? Just understand it's going to be a thing, especially, after the initial heat kicks in. They're going to move out for a little bit because they'll be too hot. But they'll be right back in as soon as it cools down a little bit. Especially as you're letting your compost pile sit there and mature. So like in this pile right here, this is the, I think here, this is week 3 on this compost pile. This is its second turn. I'm not going to touch it again for 3 weeks. And at that point, it'll be about 80% composted, which means I'm going to be putting it out in my yard. So during that last week, probably going to be a mouse, so end up trying to live in there for a little while. It just happens. Try not to get weirded out by it. They ain't going to hurt nothing. All right. So we have been going a little over an hour now. About an hour and a half, just about done with this pile. Need some water. Then we'll be moving on to our third one. Again, for those that are just joining here, this is one of the reasons that I do this live. You won't ever see me doing compost like edited. It's because I really want people to know, because some folks, they start this and they want to get into composting, but I don't think that, they need to know that it does take a lot of work. If you're going to do it on scale like this, it does take a lot of effort. It's not something you can start and then just, and you'll end up stopping if you aren't prepared for it, because it is a bunch of work. And as we're saying, every single level, what you're going to do is you're just going to put an obsessive amount of water to start. Again, this is ours. We just turned this pile. This is its second time through. But we are definitely, from here on out on this, it's not going to get any more water. So I want to make sure it's got plenty of water, especially with all that new material that we just incorporated. The top's been off, it's going to be evaporating some. So I want to make sure there's plenty of water in this before I put the tarp down over it, cover it up, because I'm not going to touch this again for probably 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. And it needs to have plenty of moisture. It's got all the goodness in there. It's got plenty of oxygen. The mixture is correct. Like I said, that's one of the things. Whenever you're doing your compost, the first time you build your pile, and that first turn, soak the living bejesus out of it, because that's the bacteria that's in there. They need that water in order to pull the materials out of your grass or your green stuff. It needs to be able to pull it out of the brown material to make that little broth that they be chomping on. Okay, so just understand that's what you got to do, and as long as you're prepared for it, you'll be good. Take your time. Like I was saying, it usually takes me about 45 minutes to do a pile, to do it right. One, I'm old, so I don't need to be rushing and breaking my back, because again, you're basically making dirt with compost. The stuff is not, it's not light. But two, you want to, take your time on this. You're investing time into this, so don't hustle through it. Because when you hustle through, especially something like this, you're going to end up making a mistake where you didn't incorporate your greens good enough, or your browns good enough, your greens, we'll say that. Then you end up having stuff matting and killing off all your aerobic bacteria, and your pile just doesn't do what it needs to do. So take your time and just plan for it to be a little bit of time. Normally I do this in the evenings after I'm done mowing, but I just didn't have time yesterday. It'd been a long day. I just need to get mowing done, and I just wanted to chill. But I knew I'd have to be out here today. So I'm paying for, knowing that I just had to get mowing done yesterday and dealing with this right now. So anyways, okay, so that's the last of the compost-ish. I got a little bit left over here. I'll scoop up towards the end here. I'll get this last bit of what came from the last, that was in here. So when I started this last week, we were filled up to here. It dropped all the way down to here in a week. I'm going to fill it back up because I've got more grass and brown material that I'm going to fill it back up to here. And this time it'll probably drop back down to there again, but I'm not going to touch it again. That's going to be more than enough material for this to reignite, because that's the big thing here too, is when you're doing your piles, they have to be big enough to retain enough heat to get to basically that 135, 140 that kills off start killing off the bad germs, the bad germs, good Lord, the bad microbes, the bad, basically sterilize the seeds as well. Any seeds that you have that might have found their way in here, like the wheat seeds that are going to be everywhere, or where are they at? Currently, my maple tree behind me, dropping off little helicopters, all right? So it needs to be hot enough basically to roast all them, or to heat them up enough to germinate, and then they die underneath there. So that's the idea. All right, so this last bit we are going to, again, you guys kind of see what I'm doing here. I'll bring it over so you can see what I'm doing. So there's that pile. Here we go, right about there. Okay. So again, chat, good to see you guys. If you haven't been on here before, welcome. Again, this pile was about yay big, full of grass. See what I mean? But I've been incorporating leaves into it, and cardboard as well. Some old cardboard from last year. And just kind of mixing it up here ahead of time so I can incorporate it into my piles. And again, the goal you're looking for is between 15 and 30 to 1, your ratio between brown and green. Yep, that's all we're doing here, folks. Just kind of getting it in there, mixing it up. And you want to have it as mixed up as you can. Now you're going to hear people say, you know, you want to do the, they call the compost lasagna, where you'll do grass or the green, then brown, then green, then brown. Just do up layers. Just be careful with that. You can do it, especially when you start. It kind of gets you, you know, get you an idea kind of what you want your compost to look like. But the issue that comes up with that is when you have greens, especially, you know, like I'm using grass clippings, they'll mat up on you. They'll make these, basically end up making these little layers that don't allow oxygen or water to flow through. And it makes an anaerobic environment, which kills off all the bacteria that you're basically trying to get. If anybody's ever done any home brewing before, you know what I mean, because you oxygenate, that's the way you say it, your wort. Back when I did home brewing, but even, you know, it's like yeast for your, you know, if you're making beer, you need a sickly sweet mixture broth, which is your wort, your beer broth. You pump it full of oxygen and give it a bunch of yeast. And the yeast quickly do their job. They grow, they multiply. Mix that up a little bit. They multiply, heat up all the yeast or all the sugars, make carbon dioxide, but they also give off a lot of goodness too, a lot of healthy things, which is weird to say with beer, but it's true. So I want this over here. That's something. Get out of here, you. All right. So again, when you're making this, that's the thing you want to make sure of. We're going to be looking for constantly when we're turning our, that's why we turn our compost piles. We turn them so that we can make sure we get a whole bunch of oxygen reincorporated back into mixture. I'm going to get some water real quick. Whew. Whew. All right. Whew. I'm heating up. Compost pile. Got nothing on me. I'm heating up today. We are probably gonna take a break after this one. I'll probably be, we get this one set. Get everything kind of incorporated here. I do not need to be overheating today. I am definitely not as young as I used to be, I can tell you that much. Almost 46 years old. AKA old guy. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now. What we got? I think I'm going to save this last bit here for this other pile because I got one more I got to fire up here. So the next bit here is we've just got, as you can see, we got our compost kind of mixed in here. Lots of goodness in here. Doing well. So in our next piece is we're just gonna be adding some water to it, hydrating it. This is the last bit of, for this one. Okay, hold on. Give my hands a chance to breathe here. It'll be the last one we're doing for this pile. And again, for those who just joined the stream, walk you through kind of where we're at. I've got this pile that we just refed it. It was down. It was up here last week. It cut by half easily. It made it down pretty much to this level here. You know, it was sitting around 160, 155, 160 all week. So it's definitely compressed down. Got that one. And then, okay, you can't see over here. I hope I have you this way a little bit more. I know it's exciting to watch the, all right. Oh, what the heck? Moved you the wrong way. Sorry, guys. There we go. We have this one here. So this one we pulled out just to take a look at it. I didn't incorporate anything new into this. This is a third year on this one, or third week. And when we did this one, it was up to here. We incorporated and it dropped down to here, built it back up to here. Now it's down to here. So I just basically reincorporated it, turned it, and I won't touch it again for 3 weeks. And by that point, it's going to be ready to go in the, you know, maybe even like 2 weeks. We'll see. It's going to go in the garden. Again, compost this time of year for me is less about nutrients, although it is important. It's more about cover to get on top of my wood chips, on top of different areas of my garden, to basically help out with moisture control. But also, you know, again, you know, this time of year is simply just getting stuff out there, but I'm also, this pile, this third one, which we're going to be working on next, I'm gonna let that one go full, and that's going to end up being nutrients for going into my late summer fall crops, where I'm going to be spreading out everywhere as all my brassicas are getting in the ground. You know, obviously supercharging my pumpkins and my squash. Looking at, you know, radishes, turnips, all those things that are cold weather, all my lettuce, I mean, good Lord, all my greens, and building up my compost supply for over winter as I'm working in the greenhouse, doing stuff there. So now, one of the things when you're looking at the food, you're doing your compost to keep in mind of here is, as you're working on it, and I'm pouring a bunch of water on here, I'm not seeing any water pool at the top, which is what you don't want to have happen. You want to make sure that it is draining really well. And that lets me know there's plenty of oxygen space in there. All right, well, that does it for today for me on the stream. I'm gonna be done for today. I'm gonna take a break, and then I've got to finish up one more pile, and then I've got basically more mulch I got to get on the garden. So with that, it's good talking to everybody today. Take care, and I will see you next time.